Okay, thank you, everyone. Today I'm announcing that no charges will be filed against the officers in the May 29th officer-involved shooting in Colerain Township. Each officer had an objective and reasonable belief that deadly force was necessary to protect and defend their own life from serious physical harm and death. Also, they had a reasonable and objective belief that it was necessary to defend others from serious physical harm or death. This matter occurred on May 29th, and Colerain Township officers were conducting a drug investigation in the area of Colerain Avenue and Springdale Road. During this investigation, officers observed Joseph Van Nimmen interact with an individual believed to be a drug trafficker. Colerain officers Huntington and Miking pursued Van Nimmen as he walked across the street into the parking lot of the Kroger store located at 3636 Springdale Road. When officers Huntington gave Van Nimmen a verbal command to stop, Van Nimmen turned towards the officers with a firearm in hand and took a shooting stance. Officers produced weapons, and Van Nimmen ran into the Kroger store, taking cover near the entrance with his firearm still drawn. Van Nimmen and police exchanged gunfire from this position, and Van Nimmen stepped out multiple times while brandishing a firearm at the officers. At this time, Officer Hatcher, who was working undercover, approached from an alternate entrance. Van Nimmen attempted to move deeper into the store. Before he could accomplish this, Van Nimmen was struck by one of the officer's shots and fell to the ground. Officers placed Van Nimmen into custody and immediately began to provide life-saving measures. Van Nimmen was indicted by our grand jury on May 31st for multiple counts, including attempted murder and felonious assault. I want to commend the Colerain Township police officers, especially Officer Huntington, Miking, and Hatcher for their bravery in this incident. Their quick and decisive action saved lives and prevented what may have been a terrible tragedy. This case is yet another reminder of the dangers police and law enforcement officers face on a daily basis. In a split second, this defendant turned a simple request to stop into a deadly shootout. We are very fortunate as a community to have highly trained police officers that were able to neutralize this situation with no loss of life. At this time, I'd like to share with you the body cam video. Actually, is that next? Yes.
Give me a second. Give me a second. Stop. Drop the gun! Drop the gun! He's right out here. He's got a gun. Yeah, cover me. Give me a second. Kevin, stop! Drop the gun! Stop! Drop the gun! Drop the gun! He's got a gun! got a gun! Yeah, cover me, cover me! Give me a second. Give me a second. Stop! Stop! Drop the gun! Drop the gun! Stop! Stop! Drop the gun! Drop the gun! He's got a gun! He's right side here. He's got a gun. Yeah, cover me, cover me.
We have now some still slides to show as well. Oh, I'm sorry, there's still one more body camera. This is the second officer's camera.
Lane 21, shots fired. We're at Kroger, 36th Street, Denver. He's in here. He's in here. Where's he at, Brian? He's here. He's got a gun. Yeah, go.
And now we'll show the stills. You might want to help me explain. And I'll come out. You can see, I'll just point to his hand so you can focus on that, where he draws it out of his waistband and is starting to raise it out at the officer. On this one, you can see the firearm here in this hand. He came in from the cart area, where the cart holding area is, and entering the store. Here, again, this is an image where you can see the firearm. There's still people in the front of the store that haven't moved yet.
In this picture here, you can see he's standing, it's a little blurry. He's standing right here, and he's bladed in that picture in a shooting stance, Officer Huntington. And that's the display of that from the inside looking out of his shooting stance, Officer Huntington. Clear as day right here. And again, here he's pointing at Officer Miking.
The second, the other officer, the second officer. This one, he's in this position, and at this point, this is the third officer that came in from another direction, another entrance. And they will engage in just a moment. He turns, he's going to move this direction. That officer begins firing at him, and he's now taking cover. The officers out here are unaware that there's a third officer in there shooting. All they hear is the sound. They believe there's shots being fired at people inside the Kroger. He then comes out of his holding, or what do you call this there?
He came out outside of cover and began pointing his firearm directly at Detective Hatcher.
Here's the detective here. You can kind of see with his shooting stance. We've got a shooting stance here. They're engaged in fire here. He can't go this direction, so now he's going to go through the center direction, and he hops, and then you'll see the other officers engage again because they see him for the first time. Okay. This is a backpack that he was carrying that day, and we're going to show a few slides of the contents of the backpack. That's Narcan. That's a wig. That's a scale. Syringes. And then these are the charges. So what you saw in the backpack is count 11, possession of criminal tools. Okay? I think, is that it? Yeah. I think at this time, any questions?
At what point did Van Nyman first fire his gun?
It's hard for us to tell, I think, at this point. The BCI is still conducting an investigation, and that's still pending. So we can't tell exactly, but what's clear is that he is taking a position and pointing a firearm and at the police officers.
But he did fire at least one round.
We know it, yes.
Do you know whose bullets or whose shrapnel hit the innocent bystander?
At this time, we don't.
He's due in court tomorrow. Is he still in the hospital? What's the latest?
He's in the hospital, he's in stable condition, he will survive.
Should we expect more charges connected to other crimes?
Not at this
considering what
time.
was in his backpack?
Not at this time. The possession of criminal tools covers what was found in the backpack. We do not know what he was planning or had been previously involved in at this time.
Did officers also pursue the drug trafficker that Van Nyman had interacted with proceeding to the shootout?
The individual is known, that at that moment, they had to concentrate on this event first, but that individual is known.
Was that because Van Nyman was unknown to police at that time?
Officers were not aware of suspect Van Nieman until they took him into custody and were able to identify him.
How do you say his name?
Van Nieman.
Neiman.
All right.
Were they conducting surveillance of him, or was it something that they were just in the area and happened to see this drug deal go down?
Surveillance
They just happened to see it?
of the known.
Is it police protocol to follow somebody from the original press release across the street into a crowded parking lot, then into the store? Can you walk us through how come they did that? Because some would say it's just a drug deal. Why not let it go when there are crowds?
Well, crime's crime. I think it's simply put as that. I mean, the individual was met with a known drug trafficker. Our officers engaged the individual not knowing who he was. They believed there was some sort of criminal activity afoot. They had probable cause to stop him. I will tell you that officers on a daily basis have encounters like this where you have no idea where the encounters are going to go, but this is going to be by far the exception. We come out and talk to individuals and stop them and have a consensual encounter on a daily basis, and this is not the expectation. This is most certainly the exception to this type of encounter.
Do you know where he got the gun from?
Are you saying where he was holding the firearm?
Well, where he got the gun from? Was it stolen?
So where was it purchased?
Yeah.
That's not known at this time.
Now, we see in the video, shots are fired at the suspect as he is running inside of the store through that cart area. At that time, you assume in the middle of the day, there are customers inside that store. Was him taking that shooting stance justification enough to fire at him, knowing that he is running inside of a populated building?
I think anytime a firearm is involved, and especially when it's pointed at an individual, that is justifiable lethal encounter. Absolutely.
I think that the public, when they see this video, kind of continuing with her point for the chief, the amount of shots fired, it seems like it seemed like I heard about a dozen shots fired from the officers into the Kroger. We can see several people lying on the floor there. I think the general public may wonder, at what point is it better to back off and try to come up with a plan to get this guy versus firing there, because as far as I could tell, it didn't look like a single one of those bullets hit him. And I guess talk more about, the protocol here, where, getting this guy versus potentially shooting and killing an innocent victim inside this store. Like she said, it's middle of the day, it's Kroger, we all know how busy they can be. I guess, what is the protocol for determining the use of force, and when it's proper procedure to maybe back off and come up with a plan?
At no time when a round is being discharged should we ever back down. We're asked to be guardians, we're asked to be warriors. There's days that we should be protectors, and there's days that we have to stop a threat, and that's absolutely what they should have done, and absolutely what they did do, in a quick manner too.
I want to add to that they are trained. to make sure when you've, and if you go through, anyone goes through firearm training, you're always conscious of what's behind the direction in which you're firing a gun. So there were times that the officers were not taking a shot because they did not have, what was behind that was a problem,
Well, I think
and a
that-
concern. So there's, if I'm not explaining myself well enough.
Well, I guess, unless I'm wrong, maybe they got him before, but it looked like until the very end, when he took off running and they got him in the back, that not a single one of those bullets hit him.
He was shot in the eye, not the back, first of all, so there's a loss of an eye. But they were, I think the video speaks for itself, that nobody was hurt. And that the officers were very conscious, because of their training and their advanced training, they were taking shots where somebody was not going to be hurt. One, there was a wall, another was a line of registers they were conscientious of. They weren't taking shots when it was going to go too deep into the store. They were concerned about that as well. So, I mean, they were aware of when they were shooting and when they were not.
Was he known to law enforcement prior?
Yes, he has a record. He has a history here in Hamilton County, most of it from 2021 back, but most of it being minor. Criminal trespass, carrying concealed weapon, drug charges. He also recently was apparently in South Florida, is January of 2023, Hollywood, Florida, aggravated assault on an officer. 3 different charges there. I don't have a disposition. I don't know if he was ever served with the warrant on that. He also was in Broward County, which is near Miami, in March of '23, assault on a law enforcement officer. That one ended up with some kind of a plea agreement. That included a resisting arrest charge. And then he has charges in Key West, Florida as well, resisting an officer with violence. So there is contact.
How many times was he shot? Was he shot in the
Once,
eye?
once.
One time and once in the eye.
Right.
And do you know about how many shots were fired by officers?
At this point, it's undetermined. We're still waiting for the full investigation from the Bureau of Criminal Investigations. They're conducting that investigation. So we're waiting for the actual amount and the ballistics reports and things along those lines, which we have not received. Yes?
Are the officers still on leave at this point?
I'll let the chief answer that.
They are.
Was there, based on the officer's observations, was there any indication prior to him facing them with that firearm in Kroger parking lot that he may have been armed? I know it can be hard to tell, but no prior indication.
No indication whatsoever. It was concealed in his waistband, that's what I can tell you. They were stopping just to ask his information, and that was basically it. So a simple request to stop and provide information turned into this situation.
Is there any
In regard to the
compensation for-
BCI investigation in this, I guess, could BCI come back with charges, or are they investigating a different portion of this? I guess when you say that the officers are cleared, does that mean from your office's point of view, or does that mean
think
they're
that-
cleared?
They're from, unless there's something majorly different, but at this point, they are being cleared. The video tells the story. There was a threat of imminent harm, death. It happened in matters of seconds. We're lucky that the result is what it was, with only one person injured in this, where everybody else is running and running for their lives and running away from the threat. We have 3 brave officers that ran towards it to neutralize the threat because they were so concerned about the others in the community, knowing that store was so busy. And they performed as they were trained, and they eliminated the threat, and then they stopped and rendered aid to the suspect.
Did all 3 officers fire? All 3 officers involved?
All 3 officers were engaged, yes. And
Engaged, meaning
they fired in their service weapons.
So the undercover officer too just happened to be in the area when the drug deal went down?
He was part of the investigation of the drug transaction.
Okay, so it wasn't just they happened to be in the area?
He was across the street, came to the aid when the shots were fired. He comes in through a second entrance or a different entrance and approached from a different direction.
And-
Okay, sorry, I'm just confused. So it wasn't just they happened to be in the area and they saw I just want to make sure I'm fast and straight.
No, the individuals that are involved in this are part of our impact unit, which is a proactive policing unit that is used to combat drug activity and violent crime. They were all observing this activity. They realized Hatcher is the individual that we're talking about here. He saw the actual weapon being pointed at the officers in the parking lot and immediately went in to engage.
Okay, so they were kind of conducting like
Yes.
an investigation.
Was the undercover officer one of the three?
Yes, he was the man in the yellow shirt, no body armor, no vest. And he still, all of them performed heroically. They should be, our community should be thankful for them, how courageous they ran. When everyone else's instinct is to run for their lives, these officers ran in the direction of danger to save others. They are dedicated to serving and protecting everyone in our community, and they should be commended for their bravery and heroic actions that day in saving countless lives. I mean, you can just only imagine what this may have turned into, and we're very fortunate the end result that we have today. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Anything?
One more question.
Sure.
Was the victim inside the Kroger or out in the parking lot?
What victim?
The one who had the shrapnel or potentially was shot.
He was in, they were inside, and they took a position right down on the ground, as you saw in the video.
So one of the three in the video.
Yeah, and it was most likely a ricochet, but that's still to be determined. Okay, so we'll make sure that you get copies of the body video, worn video. If you want the stills, are we providing those? We can provide those as well if you'd like the stills. And you should have a copy of the press release. Thank you very much and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.